Excavations at the Kasta mound outside the ancient Greek city of Amphipolis began already in the 1960s. However, initially, the archaeologists found only what appeared to be some kind of perimeter wall. It was to be until 2012 when another team of archaeologists found what appeared to be a Macedonian tomb in the mound. The tomb then started to be excavated in 2014. And this is the story of what finds that has been made up until today and what they might imply. I am your host Morten Eriksson. Welcome to Ancient History. The site itself is located some 10 kilometers north of the ancient city of Amphipolis, once a focus of conflict between Athens and Sparta during the Peloponnesian War. Outside its walls died both Cleon and Brasidas. However, Amphipolis, today close to Thessaloniki, was in an area that not long after would be in the central parts of ancient Macedonia. And after Alexander's death, his wife Roxana and his son Alexander IV were exiled and murdered there. The mound itself measures 158 meters in diameter and is about 25 meters in height. Scientific dating places it in about the mid-4th century BCE, in the time for Alexander the Great. As mentioned, the first excavations unveiled what appeared to be just some sort of outer wall. It was clear, however, that the brickwork was skilled, and as more and more details were unearthed, archaeologists started to see similarities from the works of Dinocrates of Rhodes, who were Alexander the Great's master architect. So, in 2012, it was clear that the mound was not just a wall around a pile of earth, but that it contained a tomb. Not long after, the archaeologists understood that it was a burying place from the time of Alexander. The theories, of course, started to spin. Who was in the grave? Could it be Alexander himself? Excavations began in 2014. An unassuming staircase led down in the ground, and soon 2 headless marble sphinxes were uncovered over what was obviously the entrance to the tomb and its first chamber. They sit one on each side, facing each other. These are exquisite sculptures, with beautiful lines both in musculature and meticulous details in the claws and feathers of the wings that once adorned them. The sphinxes are now head and wingless, sitting on top of a fresco mimicking an Ionian peristyle. Later, the head of the rightmost sphinx, together with fragments of the wings, were found inside the 3rd chamber, pointing to the fact that the tomb had been opened at some point in history. Some 6 meters in, archaeologists soon came upon what appeared to be a secondary doorway, guarded by an even more extraordinary find. Here, the visitor would have been met by 2 enormous female caryatids. The female statues, standing on each side, are 2.27 meters tall, standing on a base 1.4 meters tall, making the whole composition tower some 3.67 meters over the visitor. These are also made with great skill. Looking closely at some details, one can see that they once were painted to some degree. Just as the peristyle, they still have color fragments on them. On the other side of the portico, inside the 2nd chamber, the visitor would have stepped onto a beautiful mosaic. It is 3 times 4.5 meters large and seemed to picture Persephone as she is being abducted by Pluto, the god of the underworld, who drives the chariot. The horses are led by the god Hermes, who was the one who conducted the souls to the afterlife. The room would have had a square appearance, since there used to be a square ceiling with painted architraves, giving the impression that one was now entering an actual grave or a dwelling. The entrance to the next room was originally blocked by a marble door, but by the time the archaeologists got there, it had fallen into the 2nd chamber. You were now at death's door. So far, the grave had not yet revealed who was in it, and unfortunately, it also showed signs of earlier grave robbers. So chances were that the grave was empty or severely damaged. Archaeologists soon entered what appeared to be the actual grave chamber, some 8 square meters in size, and it was in this room that the head of the entrance sphinxes were found. This third chamber is less elaborate in its design. The walls are made of bare marble without any mosaics or reliefs. No statues are present in the room. Under the flat marble floor is a sunken tomb, grift or coffin made from stone slabs. There, however, stops the simpleness of the grave. Inside it, the remains of no less than 5 skeletons have been found. One of these is a mature woman, over 60 years old at her death. 2 adult men, one about 35 and the other about 45 years old, of which the younger man has signs of unhealed wounds. There are also fragments of a cremated adult. And lastly, the remains of a newborn infant was also found. DNA examination is still being conducted for cross-examination of the different remains, and is to be compared with remains from other tombs in the area. Unanswered thus is the question of whom the tomb was built for originally. For instance, its size dwarfs that of Alexander's father, King Philip II. Alexander himself was most likely buried in Alexandria, where several Roman emperors visited his grave, placing him there quite reliably. So who then? A noble? A royal family member? One suggestion has been that it contains Olympia, Alexander's mother, who had been Philip's 4th but unfavored wife. The remains of the older woman could be a clue for that option. Also, the mosaic in the second chamber clearly shows a woman, Persephone, heading for the realm of the dead. On the other hand, among the finds in the tomb are 3 inscriptions which the archaeologists want to link to Hephaestion. Hephaestion was a Macedonian general and close and dear friend to Alexander himself. These inscriptions gives the Greek word for received, placed next to the monogram of Hephaestion, whatever that implies. This theory, on the other hand, has been criticized, and today it seems improbable that the tomb contains Hephaestion, or even that any elaborate tomb was built to commemorate Hephaestion at all. One solution, however improbable, could be that the tomb was originally built for Olympia, and that it later came to also contain the ashes of Hephaestion, who had been cremated in Babylon. Unfortunately, this is as close as we get to solving the mystery at the moment. We will have to await further DNA analysis to get any further clues on who the people were that were buried in the tomb. Some of the finds are today to be seen in the Archaeological Museum of Amphipolis, and the grave itself today has a 24-hour guard to keep it safe from future grave robbers. Hi again. If you like this video, hit that like button, share a link, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And if you would like to help me to make even better documentaries about the past in the future, please consider joining me at Patreon. I have put a link to my site in the description below. Thank you for watching, and see you soon.